Hi, this is Naomi with Sword and Steel, and today I'll be showing you a 4-step process to painting green glow effects on a miniature. No matter the size, really. Though this works best for small areas, and you'll need an airbrush. There is a way to do it without an airbrush. I will give you that option at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. Alright, very first step is decide where you want your light source to be and to paint that white. No matter what color is underneath it, just paint it white. Now you could paint it yellow if you wanted it to be a different color, or you could paint it yellow with the very center of it being white. So if you have a fluorescent yellow, which you're going to need for a later step anyway, you can absolutely paint it white, and then fluorescent yellow, and then with a speck of white in the center to give it even more pop. Once you have a nice, plain, even, opaque layer of white, and it all depends on which white you use. Once you have that white, even layer, you can go on to the next step. I keep saying white, even layer because if you only put on a patchy layer of white, your effect is going to be ruined. You can lose some of the detail for a thicker white layer because glowing naturally removes some of the detail of it anyway. And depending on the model or the item that you are making glow, losing some of the detail is completely natural because when you're looking directly at a glowing source, you can't see the detail anyway, so it's realistic in that. Now that your layer has dried, the next step is to use fluorescent green. I have the Vallejo fluorescent green that is not for the airbrush yet. This one is a thicker green. I just find for these very small details, I like to use a thicker green. I actually put it out on my palette and let it congeal a little as I was adding the white because I wanted it a slightly thicker consistency. I'm working with tiny little circles. I just found that consistency to be easier. If you're working with big flat areas, then I wouldn't suggest putting on this whatsoever, actually. This is only for small areas that'll just make it easier for you to do the next step faster. Broader surface area, just go on to your airbrushing step. These, by the way, if you're not familiar, these are void shields on a Chaos Reaver Titan that I'm painting up. Now that we are done and have finished the first 2 steps, we go on to step number 3 in our airbrush booth. Easy peasy. You grab your Vallejo Premium fluorescent green paint. This is a HP Revolution Iwata brush, and it has a 0.5 nozzle. All of the premium paints don't need to be thinned down if you are using them in a 0.5 nozzle high quality airbrush. And very gently, I'm putting a layer top down, so bird's eye view, down onto these void shields, because where the light would hit from this light source is just on the very surface. So I'm not going underneath or doing any of the sides. I'm just doing where I think the light would hit. When I was going ahead with the chamber, I simply did it as an ambient effect because there was so many sources. But this one only has a source going upward, so I only did the glow in that relevant area, and not so harsh a glow either, because again the light source is going upwards, so the ambient glow is muted on these ones. It should be just enough to give a good effect. As you can see, because the Vallejo fluorescent paint for premium airbrush paint is translucent, anything that I didn't add white to is barely affected. I have to do multiple gentle layers to get up to where the metal turns a greenish tint, and that's all I want. That's enough. Now, I could leave it there, then it would be a 3-step process. But I decided to do it a little bit further. I grabbed my fluorescent yellow premium Vallejo paint and did a fine layer on top of that. I didn't have to wait for it to dry in between because I was doing very thin, soft layers. Very thin, soft layers. Take your time or you're gonna regret it and you'll have to do it all over again. So take your time. Take your time. I'm telling myself this too. Take your time. Otherwise, you're gonna waste your efforts. Take your time. And that's it. And now, this is part of the fourth step. Now you grab the pieces that you have beautifully painted, you put them on wherever they go. Your pieces might already fit onto it, but for me, I had to put the void shields back on the Titan. Bring the Titan in and make certain that I add some Vallejo yellow fluorescent paint just around where the void shields are. Again, I'd do it a bit differently if their light was shining down on the Titan, but it's not. It's shining upward. So any ambient light would be very light, and this Titan isn't supposed to be in the dark, so you wouldn't even notice any ambient light. Your eyes would not see it, so I didn't do it. And that is it. That's it. Pretty straightforward. Just need an airbrush. Right. The last thing I was going to say is if you don't have an airbrush, how in the world do you do it? You switch around the steps. So here we go from white, fluorescent green, airbrush fluorescent green, fluorescent yellow. That would be the steps to take in this video. But if you were going to do it completely without an airbrush, which I don't suggest, but if you have to, do it completely without an airbrush, then what you do is you determine the color that you used for the object itself, okay? You add fluorescent green into it and mix it so it's just faintly green tinted. It's mostly your original color, but it's faintly green tinted, okay? Now, wherever you want that ambient light to be, you have to think about it. Think where the light would go, wherever you want that ambient light to be. With this brand new color, you dry brush it all over it, nice and gently with a good dry brush. You dry brush this new color all over to create your ambient light first, before you add your white and your fluorescent green, okay? So you create your ambient light first. Then you put on your white, and then you put on your fluorescent green. And you could pop it with a little bit of fluorescent yellow, but not really need to, okay? So that would be how you would do it. So your steps would be, your back step would be your front step. And go 3, 1, 2. That's how you would do it. You don't necessarily have to have a fluorescent color to do it. It's just, boom, it works well. Fluorescent colors work well. I hope that was useful to you. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, if it was useful to you, if you do decide to go ahead and do my suggestions, do let me know how it goes in the comments below. If you found something difficult and you couldn't quite figure out how to progress, you can also let me know in the comments below. And as long as I catch that comment, I will certainly respond to you and see what we can do to make it better. That's me. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye! After note, quick tip, do try this out on something that you don't care about first, just so that you have the effect that you want before you actually apply it to the miniature. And of course, to get your skills on the airbrush, if you're using the airbrush correct, or the skills on the dry brush, to use the dry brush effect, you can choose whatever little piece of plastic you want. You could even use a piece of sprue. If you can get that sprue to look like a section of it is glowing, then you're good. And then your miniature should be even more beautiful when you actually go to paint it. That is just what I suggest. grab yourself a practice thing, get that glow effect correct, such that you're satisfied with it, and then apply it to your miniature. And everything, single thing that you paint makes you better for the next paint job, so practice. Okay,